Werner Herzog is a German film director, screenwriter, author, actor, and opera director. Herzog is a figure of the new German cinema. His films often feature ambitious protagonists with impossible dreams, people with unique talents in obscure fields, or individuals who are in conflict with nature.
Werner Herzog made his first film in 1961 at the age of 19. Since then he has produced, written, and directed more than 60 feature films and documentaries, such as Aguirre, The Wrath of God, Nosferatu the Vampire, Fitzcarraldo, Lessons of Darkness, Little Dieter Needs to Fly, My Best Fiend, Invincible, Grizzly Man, Encounters at the End of the World, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call New Orleans, and Cave of Forgotten Dreams. He has published more than a dozen books of prose and directed as many operas.
French filmmaker François Truffaut once called Herzog the most important film director alive. American film critic Roger Ebert said that Herzog has never created a single film that is compromised, shameful, made for pragmatic reasons, or uninteresting. Even his failures are spectacular.
He was named one of the world's 100 most influential people by Time magazine in 2009.
Herzog was born Werner Stipedic in Munich, to Elisabeth Stipedic, an Austrian of Croatian descent, and Dietrich Herzog, who was German. When Werner was 2 weeks old, his mother took refuge in the remote Bavarian village of Sackraing, after the house next to theirs was destroyed during an Allied bombing raid in World War II. In Sackraing, Herzog grew up without running water, a flushing toilet, or a telephone. He never saw films, and did not even know of the existence of cinema until a traveling projectionist came by the one-room schoolhouse in Sackraing. When Herzog was 12, he and his family moved back to Munich. His father had abandoned the family early in his youth. Werner later adopted his father's surname Herzog, which he thought sounded more impressive for a filmmaker.
The same year, Herzog was told to sing in front of his class at school, and he adamantly refused, and was almost expelled. Until he was age 18, Herzog listened to no music, sang no songs, and studied no instruments. He later said that he would easily give 10 years from his life to be able to play the cello. At an early age, he experienced a dramatic phase in which he converted to Catholicism, which only lasted a few years. He started to embark on long journeys, some of them on foot. Around this time, he knew he would be a filmmaker, and learned the basics from a few pages in an encyclopedia which provided him with everything I needed to get myself started as a filmmaker, that, and the 35mm camera he stole from the Munich Film School. In the commentary for Aguirre, The Wrath of God, he says, "I don't consider it theft. It was just a necessity. I had some sort of natural right for a camera, a tool to work with."
During Herzog's last years of high school, no production company was willing to take on his projects, so he worked night shifts as a welder in a steel factory to earn the funds for his first featurettes. After graduating from high school, he was intrigued by the post-independence Congo, but in attempting to travel there, reached only the south of Sudan before falling seriously ill. While already making films, he had a brief stint at Munich University, where he studied history and literature.
Herzog lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, after he won a scholarship to Duquesne University, but lasted only a few days. He earned money by participating in pre-production of a documentary for NASA with KQED. Summoned to the immigration office because of a violation of his visa status, he chose to flee to Mexico.
Before leaving school, he bought a house in the UK, in what was likely the Moss Side area of Manchester. There he learned to speak English. He made his first short film, Heracles, in 1962. In school there was an emphasis on Latin and Greek, languages that he continues to read to this day.
In 1971, while Herzog was location scouting for Aguirre, The Wrath of God in Peru, he narrowly avoided taking LAMSA Flight 508. Herzog's reservation was cancelled due to a last-minute change in itinerary. The plane was later struck by lightning and disintegrated, but one survivor, Julianne Coet, lived after a free fall. Long haunted by the event, nearly 30 years later he made a documentary film, Wings of Hope, which explored the story of the sole survivor.
Herzog, along with Rainer Werner Fassbinder and Volker Schlaundorff, led the beginning of the West German cinema movement. The West German cinema movement consisted of documentarians who filmed on low budgets and were influenced by the French New Wave of cinema. Besides using professional actors, German, American, and otherwise, Herzog is known for using people from the locality in which he is shooting. Especially in his documentaries, he uses locals to benefit what he calls ecstatic truth. He uses footage of the non-actors both playing roles and being themselves.
Herzog and his films have been nominated for and won many awards. His first major award was the Silver Bear Extraordinary Prize of the Jury for his first feature film Signs of Life. Herzog won the Best Director Award for Fitzcarraldo at the 1982 Cannes Film Festival. In 1975, his movie The Enigma of Caspar Hauser won the Grand Prix Special du Jury at the Cannes Festival. Other films directed by Herzog nominated for Golden Palm are Wojciech and Where the Green Ants Dream. His films have been nominated at many other festivals around the world: César Awards, Emmy Awards, European Film Awards, and Venice Film Festival. In 1987, Herzog and his half-brother Lucky Stipedic won the Bavarian Film Award for Best Producing for the film Cobra Verde. In 2002 he won the Dragon of Dragons Honorary Award during Krakow Film Festival in Krakow.
In 1999, before a public dialogue with critic Roger Ebert at the Walker Art Center, Herzog read a new manifesto, which he dubbed Minnesota Declaration, Truth and Fact in Documentary Cinema. Subtitled Lessons of Darkness, the 12-point declaration began, Cinema verite is devoid of verite. It reaches a merely superficial truth, the truth of accountants. Ebert later wrote of its significance: for the first time, it fully explained his theory of ecstatic truth. In 2017, Herzog wrote a 6-point addendum to the manifesto, prompted by a question about truth in an age of alt facts. Herzog was honored at the 49th San Francisco International Film Festival, receiving the 2006 Film Society Directing Award. 4 of his films have been shown at the San Francisco International Film Festival: Wodheim, Herdsman of the Sun in 1990, Bells from the Deep in 1993, Lessons of Darkness in 1993, and The Wild Blue Yonder in 2006. Herzog's April 2007 appearance at the Ebert Fest in Champaign, Illinois earned him the Golden Thumb Award, and an engraved glockenspiel given to him by a young filmmaker inspired by his films. Grizzly Man, directed by Herzog, won the Alfred P. Sloan Prize at the 2005 Sundance Film Festival. When the BBC interviewed him on the street as part of the film's promotion, he was shot in the abdomen by a man with an air rifle. Encounters at the End of the World won the award for Best Documentary at the 2008 Edinburgh International Film Festival and was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature, Herzog's first nomination.
Herzog once promised to eat his shoe if Errol Morris completed the movie project on pet cemeteries that he had been working on, in order to challenge and motivate Morris, whom Herzog perceived as incapable of following up on the projects he conceived. In 1978, when the film Gates of Heaven premiered, Werner Herzog cooked and publicly ate his shoe, an event later incorporated into a short documentary Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe by Les Blanc. At the event, Herzog suggested that he hoped the act would serve to encourage anyone having difficulty bringing a project to fruition.
In 2009, Herzog became the only filmmaker in recent history to enter 2 films in competition in the same year at the Venice Film Festival. Herzog's The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call New Orleans was entered into the festival's official competition schedule, and his My Son, What Have You Done? Entered the competition as a surprise film. Herzog also provided the narration for the short film Plastic Bag directed by Romeen Barani, which was the opening night film in the Corto Cortissimo section of the festival.
Dissatisfied with the way film schools are run, Herzog founded his own Rogue Film School in 2009. For the students, Herzog has said, "I prefer people who have worked as bouncers in a sex club, or have been wardens in the lunatic asylum. You must live life in its very elementary forms. The Costa Ricans have a very nice word for it, pura vida. It doesn't mean just purity of life, but the raw, stark naked quality of life. And that's what makes young people more into a filmmaker than academia.
Herzog was the president of the jury at the 60th Berlin International Film Festival in 2010.
Herzog completed a documentary called Cave of Forgotten Dreams in 2010, which shows his journey into the Chauvet Cave in France. Although generally skeptical of 3D film as a format, Herzog premiered the film at the 2010 Toronto International Film Festival in 3D and had its European premiere at the 2011 Berlinale. Also in 2010, Herzog co-directed with Dmitry Vyssoikov Happy People, The Year in the Taiga, which portrays the life of fur trappers from the Siberian part of the taiga, and had its premiere at the 2010 Telluride Film Festival.
Herzog has narrated many of his documentary films, and he lent his voice to an animated television program for the first time in 2010, appearing in The Boondocks in its third season premiere episode It's a Black President, Huey Freeman. In the episode, he played a fictionalized version of himself filming a documentary about the series' cast of characters and their actions during the 2008 election of Barack Obama.
Continuing with voice work, Herzog played Walter Hodenhofer in The Simpsons episode The Scorpion's Tail, which aired in March 2011. The next year, he also appeared in the 8th season episode of American Dad, called Ricky Spanish, and lent his voice to a recurring character during the 4th season of the Adult Swim animated series Metalocalypse. In 2015, he voiced a character for Adult Swim's Rick and Morty. He also appeared opposite Tom Cruise as the villain Zek Chelevek in the 2012 action film Jack Reacher.
Herzog gained attention in 2013 when he released a 35-minute public service announcement-style documentary, From One Second to the Next, demonstrating the danger of texting while driving and financed by AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, and T-Mobile as part of their It Can Wait driver safety campaign. The film, which documents 4 stories in which texting and driving led to tragedy or death, initially received over 1.7 million YouTube views and was subsequently distributed to over 40,000 high schools. In July 2013, Herzog contributed to an art installation entitled Hearsay of the Soul for the Whitney Biennial, which was later acquired as a permanent exhibit by the J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles. In late 2013 he also lent his voice to the English-language dub of Hayao Miyazaki's The Wind Rises.
In 2011, Herzog competed with Ridley Scott for making a film based around the life of explorer Gertrude Bell. In 2012, it was confirmed that Herzog would start production on his long-in-development project in March 2013 in Morocco with Naomi Watts to play Gertrude Bell along with Robert Pattinson to play T.E. Lawrence and Jude Law to play Henry Cadogan. The film was completed in 2014 with a different cast, Nicole Kidman as Gertrude Bell, James Franco as Henry Cadogan, Damian Lewis as Charles Doughty Wiley, and Robert Pattinson as a 22-year-old archaeologist T.E. Lawrence. Queen of the Desert had its world premiere at the 2015 Berlin International Film Festival.
In 2015, Herzog shot a feature film, Salt and Fire, in Bolivia, starring Veronica Ferrez, Michael Shannon, and Gael Garcia Bernal. It is described as a highly explosive drama inspired by a short story by Tom Bissell.
In 2016, Herzog released an online masterclass sharing in-depth knowledge of his craft entitled Werner Herzog Teaches Filmmaking.
In 2019, Herzog joined the cast of the Disney Plus live-action Star Wars television series The Mandalorian, portraying the Client, a character with nebulous connections to the Empire. Herzog accepted the role despite admitting that he had never seen a Star Wars film.
Herzog's films have received considerable critical acclaim and achieved popularity on the art house circuit. They have also been the subject of controversy in regard to their themes and messages, especially the circumstances surrounding their creation. A notable example is Fitzcarraldo, in which the obsessiveness of the central character was reflected by the director during the making of the film. Burden of Dreams, a documentary film during the making of Fitzcarraldo, explored Herzog's efforts to make the film in harsh conditions. Herzog's diaries during the making of Fitzcarraldo were published as Conquest of the Useless, Reflections from the Making of Fitzcarraldo. Mark Harris of the New York Times wrote in his review, "The movie and its making are both fables of daft aspiration, investigations of the blurry border between having a dream and losing one's mind."
His treatment of subjects has been characterized as Wagnerian in its scope. The plot of Fitzcarraldo is based on the building of an opera house, and his later film Invincible touches on the character of Siegfried. He is proud of never using storyboards and often improvising large parts of the script. He explains this technique in the commentary track to Aguirre, The Wrath of God.
Herzog has preferred to develop a team to work with, both of actors and technical people. He has gathered a group who have appeared in numerous films. Additionally, Herzog was co-executive producer along with Errol Morris on Joshua Oppenheimer's documentary film, The Act of Killing, which reported on the mass slayings of suspected communists by anti-communists, and interviewed a number of its perpetrators. These slayings took place in Indonesia in 1965 and 1966, following the overthrow of Indonesia's first president, Sukarno.
Thomas Mach worked with Herzog on 10 films, starting with Signs of Life and Last Words and ending with Fitzcarraldo. He helped to create hallucinogenic atmosphere in Aguirre and the realistic style of Straszek. Mach won Film Award in Gold and National Society of Film Critics Awards for Aguirre. He was Herzog's first choice to be cinematographer during Cobra Verde. After excessive verbal abuse from Klaus Kinski, Mach walked out of the project. That was Mach and Herzog's final collaboration.
George Schmidt-Reitwein worked with Herzog on 17 films. Reitwein was Thomas Mach's assistant camera during Even Dwarfs Started Small. His first independent work for Herzog was Precautions Against Fanatics in 1969. He helped to create the poetical atmosphere of Fata Morgana, Heart of Glass, The Enigma of Caspar Hauser and Nosferatu. He won the Film Award in Gold for Heart of Glass and Where the Green Ants Dream at the German Film Awards. He last collaborated with Herzog during Pilgrimage in 2001.
Peter Zeitlingler collaborated with Herzog on more than 20 films, from Gesualdo, Death for Five Voices to the documentary Into the Inferno, including Rescue Dawn and Grizzly Man. He was nominated for the Independent Spirit Award for Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call New Orleans in 2009. He also photographed Encounters at the End of the World, which was nominated for the Academy Award.
Walter Saxer produced 16 of Herzog's films, including Nosferatu and The White Diamond. He worked in the sound department during 7 of Herzog's films, including The Great Ecstasy of Woodcarver Steiner and Echoes from a Somber Empire. He co-wrote Scream of Stone, which Herzog directed. Saxer appeared as himself in Herzog's My Best Fiend and in Les Blanc's Burden of Dreams, in which he was also subjected to the verbal abuse of Kinski.
Lucky Stipetic is Herzog's half-brother, and he produced several Herzog films, including Aguirre and Invincible. He is a head of Werner Herzog Productions. He won the Bavarian Film Award in 1988 for Cobra Verde and International Documentary Association Award for Little Dieter Needs to Fly in 1998. He was also nominated for an Emmy Award in 1998.
Andre Singer worked either as an executive producer or producer on 8 of Herzog's documentaries, starting with Lessons of Darkness in 1991 and ending with The Wild Blue Yonder. He won the International Critics Award at the Venice Film Festival, 2006. He worked on the recent La Boheme and Into the Abyss/Death Row, 2011. Singer also was a director on Meeting Gorbachev.
Piet Meinke Gellinghaus worked with Herzog on 20 films, from Signs of Life and Last Words to Where the Green Ants Dream. She won the Film Award in Gold during the German Film Awards for The Enigma of Caspar Hauser in 1975.
Joe Binney has collaborated with Herzog on 19 films, From Little Dieter Needs to Fly to Cave of Forgotten Dreams. He was nominated by American cinema editors for Best Edited Documentary Film for Grizzly Man in 2005.
And Popple collaborated with Herzog on 4 films, including Nosferatu the Vampire and Scream of Stone. Gisela Storch worked with Herzog on 6 films: The Enigma of Caspar Hauser, Heart of Glass, Nosferatu the Vampire, Wojciech, Fitzcarraldo, and Cobra Verde. She was nominated for a Saturn Award for Nosferatu the Vampire in 1979.
German krautrock band Popple, founded by pianist and keyboardist Florian Frick, have composed music for 8 of Herzog's films: Aguirre, The Wrath of God, The Great Ecstasy of Woodcarver Steiner, Heart of Glass, Nosferatu, The Dark Glow of the Mountains, Fitzcarraldo, Cobra Verde, and My Best Fiend. Their compositions were also used by Herzog in Rescue Dawn. Florian Frick made a cameo as a pianist in Signs of Life and The Enigma of Caspar Hauser. The band took its name from the Popple Vuh, a manuscript of the Quiche, Maya Kingdom. They had seen Herzog's Fata Morgana, in which Lottie Eisner reads parts of the Popple Vuh.
Since 2001 and the passing of Florian Frick, for orchestral scores Herzog has mostly chosen Klaus Badelt. The first of so far 4 collaborations, Invincible was actually one of Badelt's first film scores. Badelt also wrote the scores to Rescue Dawn, Happy People, The Year in the Taiga, and is currently working on Herzog's upcoming feature Queen of the Desert.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.